Good evening, my YouTube viewers. It is Crystal here. I'm here. I wanted to make another video for you, and this is going to be an exploratory data analysis. And basically what I did was I took a CSV file on a Portuguese bank, which I downloaded off the internet. And so you can see the CSV file right here in front of you. And then what I did was I converted that CSV file to tabular. So this is what it looks like tabular. And if you want to take a CSV file and convert it to tabular, you go to Data, and then in Data you click on Text and Columns. And then when you're in Text and Columns, then if you go through the windows will tell you how to convert the CSV file to columns. And in this particular CSV file, you'll see here the delimiter was a semicolon. It wasn't a comma. So you had to set it up to have a delimiter as a semicolon. So this is what it looks like, and this is how I converted it to tabular so I can do an exploratory data analysis in Excel. So I've got the analysis here that I did. I wasn't able to complete all of the questions in the analysis, so I think that where I got this CSV file and the questions for the analysis, I'm not sure if he looked at the data set too much, because some of the questions, one of the questions that he asked in particular didn't relate to the data set, and so I couldn't answer it. But what I'll do is I'll go over the questions that I was able to answer. So question number 1 is, what is the proportion of people who subscribed to term deposit? And how you do that is how you found that information out was I created a pivot table. And in the pivot table, it gave you the unique categories. And then so for failure, it was 4252. For non-existent, it was 35563. And for success, it would be 1373. So you can see that it had a very small success. Only 3.33% of the people who this bank contacted wanted to subscribe to a term deposit. And I could actually have created a what shall we say, a chart with that. So we've got the pivot table here, so we'll come over here to pivot table, and then we'll go over here to pivot table analyze, then we'll click over here to field list, and then so take the count of outcome 1, and then we'll remove that field, and then when we remove the field, the only thing that you have is the percentages. And then what you do is you go over to insert and then to pivot chart. So we're going to have the pivot chart here, but what we're going to do is we're going to make it a pie chart. So we go into pie chart. So we'll say percentage of subscribers. Okay, and then what we'll do, we'll come over here, click onto that, and we'll say field buttons. And so we've deleted the field buttons. And then what you can do here is we can select the style that we want. So this is a good style. And then we can also select the color that we want. So I like this monochromatic color. So that's a good color. And then so what we can do here, what I wanted to do, so it's finally done that. What I wanted to do it's been really slow today. So we snip it, and then we go back to analysis. And say delete. And then we copy this. So I press Control C. So you can see here the percentage of subscribers. The percentage of subscribers was 3.33%. So you can see that on the pivot table, and you can also see it on the chart that we've made. So we'll just make the chart just a little bit smaller, just so it'll fit on the sheet. And the next question, after we found out the proportion of people who subscribe to term deposit, we'll say, what is the correlation between age and balance? So there was a column that had age, but there was no column that had balance. So I couldn't complete that question. The next question is, what is the distribution of the job type of customers? So that was, I couldn't really do it because the reason why is because the job type of customers was a categorical value, it was a text value, and I tried to make a histogram, and so a histogram would have been the distribution, but it did not allow me to do a histogram. And the reason why is because you can't do in Excel, you can't do a histogram on text. So I did it on the Pareto chart, but the Pareto chart, it's not really giving you the distribution. Now, what I could have done, so I couldn't really give you the distribution, which is what I wanted to do, which I would have liked to have done it. I tried my best, but because it's in a text file, it's a categorical text file, I couldn't really do it. So I did do a Pareto chart, but that's not a histogram. And so it can't give you the distribution because a histogram would give you the distribution, and I couldn't do that. So the next question is number 4, is what is the average duration of the calls? And so basically how we found that out was we did equals average on the Portuguese bank tabular K2 to K41189, and that gave you the average duration of the calls was 258.285. So I'm just wondering if that was seconds, because I can't imagine it would be minutes. And the last question we had is, what is the proportion of calls made each month? And again, what we had to do was we had to do a pivot table, and then when we made the pivot table, we asked for the percentage, and then we did a pivot chart, and the pivot chart tells you that the highest proportion of calls were made in May, and the lowest proportion of calls were made in December. But you can come over here to this page right here where we've got our pivot table and our pivot chart. So that's it, really. That's the analysis. Unfortunately, whoever devised the questions for this exploratory data analysis, I'm not sure that they looked at the CSV file themselves, and I'm not sure if they answered the question themselves, because if they had answered the questions themselves, then they would have known that two questions in particular we couldn't answer. So I'm not going to do anything with this. I'm not going to do anything with this file because I couldn't answer all the questions. So because I couldn't answer all the questions, it's not going to be beneficial to make a dashboard, and it's not going to be beneficial for me to write up my answers, which is what I normally do. But I decided that since I had a stab at it, I had a stab at answering these questions, I'd go ahead and make a video on it. So I'm going to go ahead and close this video because we've covered all of the topics that we could have covered. We covered pivot tables, pivot charts, pareto charts, and averages, or the mean. So we did cover a lot, even though we couldn't answer all the questions. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you like my video, please like and subscribe, and I will be making another video on a technical subject in the very near future.